Okay. All right. Well, welcome. And I'm so honored Karen invited me to share with you about LinkedIn today. But let me just tell you really quick a little bit about myself. I've been an entrepreneur for almost 35, 40 years now, doing various businesses. So I have a lot of experience. And that's what I like to bring to this group is anything I can do to help you be more successful. My main business is I work with doTERRA, essential oils and wellness, and helping people find natural wellness in their lives. And I have a rather large team. It is a direct selling company. And so I work with a large team, and that's where a lot of my time and energy goes. And I work with customers, but I also work with about 200, 300 business leaders who do the same thing I do, and I coach them. So that kind of leads me into why I know a little bit about LinkedIn. So I think many of us 2 years ago found ourselves kind of like, how do I meet people being from home, staying at home, right? And because up until 2 years ago, I literally was probably going to a minimum of 2 to 3 network meetings a week, meeting people. And that's how I've met a lot of people that I work with very closely. And so when life shut down, it became really, wow, how do I continue to meet people and grow from them? So let's just step back for a minute and think about network meetings and why we would go to them and, hopefully start resuming those. But the main reason I went, I had 2 reasons why I went. One is I wanted to meet women who had like-minded goals that might want to partner with me in my business. I also wanted to meet women who I could learn from, because we all have something to contribute to each other. We all have areas of wisdom and experience that we can gain from each other. And my life has been richly blessed because of the women I've met through networking meetings. The other reason I would often go is for the professional development, because there was often a presenter presenting something that I could gain something from. And sometimes it's just that one tip that can switch the whole motion of our business. So if that's the case, how, when we're working from home or traveling like Jackie, how do we still find those opportunities? And so LinkedIn to me is that place. And so I tell people to look at LinkedIn as one of the largest network meetings you could ever step into. So if you were going to go to the largest network meeting of the world, would you just show up in your pajamas, your hair not combed, and not know your message, not know what you're going to offer to other people, and what is it you're looking for? So one of the first things when I coach people through LinkedIn and getting them set up is I say, you really have to spend the time up front defining who you are, what you want, just like, who you are. Just like the mornings I would go to a network meeting, I got up, I showered, I dressed nice, I took my business cards with me, I rehearsed kind of what my message was for new people that I met, so that when I showed up, I was the person I truly wanted to be seen. And it's the same way with LinkedIn, is you want to show up in a way that people are going to go, I want to connect with that person, whether it's because you might be able to share something and further each other's business, or the other reason you look at people is, who do they know that might introduce me to somebody that might be able to help me. And the other reason we go to LinkedIn is it's just, think about the expertise that's out there and the postings and the things that you can learn from. Now, the other thing I tell people is you can't really, just like I don't go to a network meeting with the idea that I'm going to sell you a bunch of essential oils or natural products. I don't ever go to a network meeting for that. That's not why I'm there. I'm there to connect and build a relationship and to see how we can serve each other. And like I said, and then also to hear the message that's presented for the day. And when you look at LinkedIn like that, then you approach it that way, and it will give you the same benefits in a much larger capacity than going to a network meeting. So we don't necessarily have to get up every morning and look nice, but we do have to make sure what we're presenting really is out there. So I think what I want to do from here is share my screen real quick. And I'm going to, so can you see my LinkedIn here with Karen's beautiful face? And so I pulled Karen up because she's a perfect example of, she's done it right. She's got a beautiful picture here of her. So when I see this, I'm like, oh, I really want to connect with her. You know, I just resonate with, look at the energy she's shown in that picture. And then we have found that this banner is critical to attracting people. And so if you feel like your LinkedIn, if you're working your LinkedIn and you feel like it's kind of slowed down, you're not getting as many connection requests, I find that changing up your banner every now and then actually gets a little more attraction. It's one of those things that affects your a logarithm, I think, in LinkedIn. And so changing that banner sometimes when you feel like things have slowed down, or maybe in my case, I've been absent from LinkedIn for a few months because I just had a lot of challenges going on. And so my goal in 2022 is to kind of get re-engaged in a lot of things. And so I'll probably change my banner because that's one of the ways to just get that logarithm to get me back out there and get me noticed. But give some thought as to what you're going to do. So I had one banner and I changed it to my current one. And within a week, I all of a sudden had like 50 new connection requests from people just by changing a banner. So, and these are easily creatable out on Canva. If you're a Canva user, Canva actually has a LinkedIn banner format. You can just choose on it, and they have a zillion to choose from. You can use as a base, and then you just make some changes here. But again, when I look at Karen's, I'm like, oh, look, this is all about, you know, doing life together. And then the next critical piece is your title here. What are you offering people? What are you offering me? That's the first thing I look at. So she's offering me to amplify my expertise to other women entrepreneurs. Who doesn't want that? So she's done a great job entitling that. Now, another thing you can do when things slow down a little bit in LinkedIn is you can just do a minor change to this. So, and then, you know, it states where you're actually working from. And then the other important piece about your profile, this is called a profile, is your about. Now, so if people, your idea is that when people, if you're in a network meeting, that your idea is that people are going to walk up to you and whatever comes out of your mouth and the energy they feel, you hope they want to sit down next to you, or that you can start a conversation, or they're like, hey, can we get together? Can we go have coffee later or something? So you want this piece to do that. But then what you really want it to do is to take people down to the about section where they're just going to learn a little bit more about you. You don't want this to be an essay, but you do want it to capture the essence of what you're offering them. And so when I read this, I'm like, all right, I got to be connected with Karen. And the other thing I look at is, does she have like 400 or 500 or more connections? Because the other reason you connect with people is to get access to their connections. So if you have somebody who's just got 100 connections, you know, that's not really going to get you a lot of connections. So that's the first main thing. And the other thing I wanted to back up and say is that you have to look at LinkedIn like all the other social media things we do. Facebook, Instagram, you know, TikTok, all those things we do is, if you're going to use LinkedIn as a means, and maybe you're just going to do it for a few months to up enough clients to keep you busy for the rest of the year, you're going to have to make sure you put in time every day to go to your network meeting. You know, just block it on your calendar. I'm going to go to LinkedIn for a half an hour every day or whatever. So again, so my first advice is your attitude about it. Second is make sure what you're presenting here looks great. So if it's okay, Wonderful, I'm going to bring you up because Wonderful and I are connected. Let's just come here. And again, this is something that's amazing, right? I look at this, I'm like, oh, okay, she's a business strategist and a leadership coach. Now I'm like, okay, well, I know a lot of people like that? How else do I want to, is this a person I want to be connected with? So I look at who else we have in common. And so if I look here, we probably have Karen in common. And that would tell me, oh, I really want to know her because she's connected to Karen. In fact, that's how Wonderful and I got connected, was through Karen, right? So then I come here to the about, and I read some about her. I'm like, wow, I really want to be connected with her. And I bet she has some, 379 connections. She's up getting there to that point where I'm like, she's got a lot of connections. She's going to lead me to a lot more. So that's the first thing. The second thing about LinkedIn is getting these connections up close to 500 or more. And because it's just kind of a badge to be able to say, when people see that you have over 500 connections, you're like, oh, I got to be associated with them because they're going to get me connected. So once you've got this all set, your next thing is to go to your meeting and start connecting. So the way we do that is you go to My Network and you put in here that you want to connect, you hit connections, and we're going to search with filters. So I'm going to search for people, or I could search for jobs, or, but mostly I'm just wanting to connect with people. So I've walked into the door of my network meeting for the day, and I'm looking for people that I want to kind of connect with. So on this first one is, I want to see, it defaults to letting you see the first connections of all the people that you're connected with. But I'm at the point where I've kind of gone through a lot of that. And so now I want to go down to a second level. I want to see who's connected with them. So when I show that, it brings up a whole new list of people. And then maybe I want to look at connections. So for example, for a while I wanted to do some building in Florida, right? Because in my job, wherever I'm building, that's where I can travel to and use it as a tax write-off. So if I can find some connections in Florida and start building those connections and end up going there, that's a tax write-off. So let's say I want to just see people on my first two connections who are only in Florida. So, and you can even go international if you'd like to. Now at this point, you start clicking on people and looking at them. And so I also look and see who else knows these people. And what I do is, in my business, because I'm in direct sales, this person here, this Sally Gabriel, she's connected to one of my business leaders who's on my team. So I don't really want to go after her connections, because network marketing, you don't want to step on each other's feet, so to speak, in the same business. So I probably won't try to connect with Sally because I see that Cammie's connecting with her. And I'm also very, in my business, careful not to connect with my peers in doTERRA because I don't want to see their friends. I don't want to connect with their friends because it's just, then again, I'm going after their friends and to associate with them, and I don't want to do that. I'd rather do a meeting other people outside that, if that makes sense. So you spend a little time looking here, and I have a notebook or a spreadsheet where when I really see somebody, I'm like, oh, I really hope they accept my connection request because I really want to get to know them better. So let's just say I'm going to, this one's in, I'm looking for someone who we're going to resonate with what we're doing, right? So Health Engagement Director at Signet. Okay, I'll connect with her. So what that does is it sends a connection request to her. Now, it lets you add a note, and I'm not a big one on adding notes because especially if you try to promote something right off the bat. Like if you were to go to a network meeting and walk up and meet somebody and they're like, oh, here, take my this and take my that, and can we have coffee? And I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. I don't even really know you yet. So I don't really add notes or coach people to add notes at this point because I don't want to come off as like really promoting myself yet. I just want to say, hey, can we sit at the same table and have a chance to get to know each other better? And then we'll go from there. So this is that first initial thing. So I'm going to send her, and now it's pending, a connection request. And when she accepts that, I'll get a note, and then I can go message her. And what I suggest is creating some templates for yourself, so that when someone accepts your connection request, you ping them a message and just say, hey, thanks for accepting my connection request. And do not go right into who you are. This is about relationship building. So I go back and I look at their profile and learn a bit about them. And, so let's look at her, for example. And I'm going to learn a little bit more about her. She loves a passion for people, process performances. Oh, here's my key: promoting the well-being of all. So in that first message to her, I might say, hey, I think we have a common thing in wanting to promote the well-being of all people. How do you feel you do that? So the thing in networking is you don't just go up and tell people about yourself. You inquire about them. You're trying to figure out, is this a connection I want to pursue further? And then you start answering messages back and forth. And at some point you might say, hey, do you want to get together on a Zoom call? And if you're local, do you want to go out for coffee? But the whole goal of these connections are twofold. One is to get connected with a phone call, a Zoom call, an online meeting, and see if you can further the conversation. The second is, once she connects with me, I now have access to her first connections. So she's obviously connected with people who have like-minded goals of hers. So it just increases it's kind of like sub meetings, like, okay, now I met Carly and now Carly's let me in. So now I'm going to go to Carly's network meetings and see who she knows and see if any of them I can learn something from. So that's where it takes some time each day, is when you start doing the messaging, right? And you start answering back and forth. And it's like any other thing when you're connecting, is if you don't have some tracking, some organized way, it's easy to kind of lose touch. So I would probably put Carly in my spreadsheet, and I'd make some notes of when we connected, and, oh, I've sent her a message now that we've connected. Oh, she sent me a message back. And, just having that conversation and knowing where I'm at, so that when I sit down to work for that half hour on LinkedIn, it's productive. I go to my sheet and I'm like, oh yeah, I needed to send Carly a message now. I need to do this. This person's accepted. Or you can just walk in and let life happen. However you want to use this is up to you. So that's the main part about meeting people in a nutshell. There's a lot more details to it, but I just kind of wanted to give you that nutshell there. The other piece about LinkedIn is that professional development piece, where one of the reasons we go to network meetings is to hear the speaker and learn things. So just like on some of the other social media, there's postings all the time. So when you first start, I always tell people, don't start posting until you get your connections up to about 400, because not a lot of people are going to see them until you get that level of connection. And then start posting. Now, when you post, you don't want to necessarily post and try to make a sell, because people aren't interested in that. This is like, if you were asked to be the speaker at your network meeting, what's some things you could teach to everyone that's going to benefit everyone? So this is one, like, look at this one that popped up on my feed today. This is a topic I'm like, wow, this is a great topic. How many of us deal with grief and stress in our work? So I might go, oh, okay, she's got a thing. But maybe I don't have time to go to that meeting, or I want to know more. You could always click on her and message her and say, hey, I see that you're having a meeting on Saturday about grief and stress. I have a lot going on Saturday. Can you give me a couple high points? And see, all of a sudden now her and I are connecting and getting to know each other better. And she is a grief coach, as I can see here. So, I might put that in my spreadsheet about her. We're connected on a first level. And then But here, these sales ads, you don't pay a lot of attention to them. And what you're looking for here. So the other reason you're looking for through here is what can you gain in your business to be better? The other is how can you further conversations? So I can further my connection with this Jenny Deltz by starting to message her about this presentation she's going to do. The next is when you present, if you write some articles or your blog, so Karen's message, right, is all about connecting and amplifying women entrepreneurs. So when she makes posts, I'm going to pay attention because she, Karen, the articles you post out there are all about promoting and amplifying women entrepreneurs. So I'm going to pay attention to that. And you can also make a comment here. So you could actually comment and say, hey, this sounds really interesting. Can you give me a couple of the main topics? I can't be there on Saturday. So just as in Facebook and some of the other places, commenting on other people's posts helps up their ability to be seen. So it's nice when you can not just like, but make a comment and say, what a great topic. So I'll come in here and I'll say, this is a great topic. And by posting that, I'm helping Jenny's posts get seen more, right? And then of course, Facebook prompts me a little bit more, and she's set it up so that when I post, she's giving me a link to go to. So you can take this to all kinds of levels. The other thing is when you're in LinkedIn and you start working is they do have paid levels that let you see better connections and stuff like that. And I don't recommend that because if you're in LinkedIn enough, they will offer you free trials for that. Like probably every 3 months, I get an offer for a month of a free trial to their paid version. And you take advantage of that and then cancel it after the month because it just lets you see more people and more people in your field. So that's really a really brief summary of how to use LinkedIn and some quick tips I have for you. So anybody have any questions, comments, experiences you've had, things we can finish up? I don't want to take too much time on this.
Yeah, PJ, thank you so much. That was so great. I think that just being over in that professional business where a space where people are doing business is a great reminder of a good place to that. I think a lot of people haven't accessed it.
Yeah.
So, but there are a couple questions here for you, it looks like, in the chat. It says, Wonderful says, I barely use LinkedIn and this is a perfect nudge. And she is asking, should I connect with other business coaches, consultants, strategists, and leadership coaches if she is a coach herself?
Well, my advice would be probably not, because you're going to start seeing their people and maybe their clients or people they're going after. I would probably look at LinkedIn more as, okay, if I'm a business strategist, I want to try to connect with people who need me. And other strategists don't need me. Maybe they do. I mean, they probably do, but they're not going to, it's not that thing. You're coming to this network meeting of LinkedIn to find people who need you. You're there for two reasons. One, for find people who need you, and the other is to get your own professional development out of it, right? So personally, I would try to connect with people who need a business strategist, need some mindset help, right? So when you're trying to connect with people, keep that in your mind. That would be my answer there.
Yes. So ladies, feel free to unmute and ask a question if you have one.
Yeah, no, I'm the same place that Morrison is in wonderful. I always call her Morrison because I just love that last name too.
Yeah.
Because I don't use LinkedIn that much and haven't, and I just kept going, now I'll do it later, do it later, do it later. But thank you for the presentation because it makes it show like the simplicity of getting back and involved in it and like setting it up. And I have great banners and I have great pictures and I can do all that. So I'm going to do that today. So thank you. And start getting those, because I think I already have connections. I don't think I've changed it, honestly, since even before my coaching business. Like I haven't even touched on it. So I can only imagine like what benefits that could come from getting into it. And you're the third person this week that has mentioned LinkedIn. So I
Mm,
think that's a
there you go.
sign.
Yeah,
I think
definitely.
that's a sign. Mhm.
Right. And some of the great articles you could post, Jackie, is again, you're out there looking for people who need a mindset coach, right? So I would be if I were you, I'd be posting articles or just little posts or post to a link of an article you wrote about something about mindset, something you will be more sought after if you give a little tip. Something
Yeah.
that's
And
like,
that's what I already
come
do
here, and
on
I'm like,
Facebook. I already
yeah,
do that on Facebook. And I think
same,
we all kind of do it, just transferring it over different platform. It doesn't matter if it's
right.
the same thing, you know?
Right. And Danielle would be telling us, you want to use that across as many platforms as you can. So
Mhm.
if you write that one article, the post you put on Facebook might be a little bit different, leading them to that. Whereas your post in LinkedIn is you're looking for those professional people who are needing some mindset coaching. Whereas on Facebook, you're looking for anybody who needs mindset help, right? So just keeping that in mind. So that's
So
awesome.
PJ, as you're posting, you're talking about these different tips and stuff. So what is usually your call to action, and where's the next step that you're usually leading these people? Or is it
Well,
just being present?
it's a little bit of both. And it's, again, this is where you do a little planning ahead of time is why are you on LinkedIn? And what are you looking for? And what are you going to contribute? Again, if you were asked to speak at a large network meeting and you only have 3 minutes, what are you going to post? And what would be your call to action? Do you want them to go to your website? Do you want them to reach out and message you or just make a comment so that you get seen more? And again, this is all professional people, and they tend to get, the group tends to get a little funny when anybody does kind of like Facebook stuff. Like, this isn't a place where you ask like, do you like to go out for dinner or cook in dinner? You're not trying to create engagement here, because this is, again, a network of professionals who are working. And so they don't need that kind of engagement. And I wouldn't necessarily post if I'm selling a physical product, you'll never see me post about my oils or, try to sell somebody a particular oil. What I may do is tell you about how an oil may help get you through grief, or it may help get you through a stressful day. That's a little bit different. So again, it's your approach of how are you in that comment going to contribute so that people see you as an expert in that, and it'll up your connections.
And quick question about links. I noticed that like Jenny's thing put the link in the replies. I know
Mhm.
Facebook, it has like different algorithm issues. When you put the link into like the actual body of the post, no one sees it. Is that similar on LinkedIn?
A
Where
little
like,
bit, a little
okay.
bit.
Okay.
And this was really great on her part to not put that until I made a comment.
Yeah, I like that. That was
Yeah. So anyway, so yeah, so you can take this to all kinds of levels. But I think the biggest reason you comment is to just, one, you have all these people connected to you. Some may or may not pay attention to any messages you send, because these are busy people that are out here on LinkedIn. You have to remember that. You're just trying to add value to their lives, and I think the biggest thing in posting is getting comments, because then that gets you seen by more people, which your whole point here is, just like in network meetings we go to, is we want to increase our connections. And so that's again, the call to action is really just simple and getting them to connect with you and being seen. And then the people who are connected with you all of a sudden see more value in you. Does that answer your question, Karen, in a roundabout way?
Yes. Oh, it's fabulous. I think one of the most important things that you were saying here too is creating those relationships.
That's what it's all about here.
Yeah. And I think the other thing that you mentioned too that is really important is that these are professional people. So and I think, so do you find that you have more experienced, a little bit more people who have had businesses for a little bit longer, a little bit more experience, that type of thing on LinkedIn, rather than somebody who's just starting a business?
I see all kinds of people out here on LinkedIn, and I see a lot of people who don't really understand it, and they get out there and they start trying to sell their stuff and all this. I'm like, oh, you don't get LinkedIn. This is about a relationship place, right? So it's nice to kind of be prepared when you go in. It's just like, I would not go to a network meeting not thinking about what am I wearing, the energy I'm portraying, and how can I help and contribute to relationships. So yeah, you have to look at it differently, and you'll see the people who are successful see it as a professional way. And again, look at it from a professional standpoint. So one of the women I coach in building on LinkedIn is an animal aromatherapist. So she offers natural solutions for helping your animals. And so at first she's like, well, how can LinkedIn help me? And I said, you can't tell me that not a huge percentage of all of these professionals there don't have pets who are their lives, right? And so you want to make sure everything you're posting is about their love of their lives, their pets, and how can you help them? And you want to be out there enough that when all of a sudden their pet is sick or their pet has anxiety or whatever it is, they're like, now who is that person out there on LinkedIn who's going to help me naturally help my pet? So again, it's just doing some pre-work and thinking, how do I approach this and what can I offer to this group of professionals?
Excellent. And then so it looks like Wonderful just made a little comment. She goes, oh, got it. So entrepreneurs would be best to connect with for her.
Yeah.
Excellent. So ladies, any other questions as we wrap up here? I think PJ, thank you so much for being
you are
here.
so welcome.
I just love how you come in and share with us and share your knowledge with us and all these wonderful things. I already I have a checklist for here. I was like, okay, I need to update my bio and my photos and all that kind of stuff. So my header. So thank you so much. And
you're so welcome.
Yes, awesome. And so ladies, this will be recorded so you can watch it. And if you can hit stop record, that'd be great.
Sure, let me stop the share here and then I'll come here and stop the record. There you go.